computer room now. I don't have the best video recorder, but bear with me. This is what I have to use, so that's what I'm using. So I have the video recorder on the Game & Watch, obviously, and my STM32 board. Previously in the video I showed you guys how to set up the soldering to your Game & Watch to connect to your STM32 board. So I'm assuming you guys have all followed that, and we now have connections from a 4-pin connector to from our STM32 board, Nucleo board, to our Game & Watch through the debug ports. So things that you're going to need here is a USB cable, USB-C, for your Nintendo Game & Watch, and that's just to supply the power to the Game & Watch, because the Game & Watch needs power to get the flash memory onto it properly. Obviously. Our battery is going to be disconnected, so leave that battery cable disconnected. Earlier in the video I showed you guys that this Game & Watch still works. You can test yours to make sure it still works. Everything should still work fine and turn on as it should. Now, you guys should see my screen now. So I'm going to show you guys how to hack your Nintendo Game & Watch through Ubuntu, and I'm going to use VMware Workstation 15. You guys can use whatever you want, and at this point, if you guys know something better to use, you want to use Mac. I've used Mac before. If you want to use something else, by all means you can use something else, but at this point I'm just going to show you guys what I do to get ROMs for an NES onto your Nintendo Game & Watch successfully. So what you're going to want to do is download the Ubuntu desktop. Link this in my description. So we're on the Ubuntu site, ubuntu.com, and I have the right build here. 20.04 is the latest one for me. So I'm going to click download, and that should, let me download that. It's 2.6 gigabytes, so make sure you have enough space on your hard drive for that. It's going to take a minute to download, and while that downloads I'll show you VMware here, VM Workstation. I'm using VM Workstation 15. I've had this on my computer for a long time. There might be a new update. This is what I'm using. There's lots of guides on how to install VMware Workstation on your Windows machine, but I'm going to leave that for another video, and you guys can just watch this video and figure out your own way to get it onto your Windows machine. So I'm assuming you have VMware Workstation on your machine already. So what we'd want to do once your download's finished, our download's almost done, go into VMware Workstation, click Player, File, New Virtual Machine. So you want to use it's going to ask you where you want to install it from. You are going to select Install Disk Image File, ISO. So that's what we've been downloading. So you're going to hit Browse, and it should come up in your downloads. So we're going to hit Open. It detected the operating system. So we're going to hit Next. You're going to put in a name, or your name. I'm just going to put my initials for now. Username, I'm just going to put user. Password, password, password. So obviously you're going to want to set up whatever you want to set up for this. This is to log into your virtual machine. It says Ubuntu 64 and then in brackets 2 because I already have one set up, but we're setting up one just for the purposes of this video. So I usually select Store Virtual disk as a single file, and then select how big that you want the disk size, obviously. I'm hoping that's enough. If not, we'll have to change it later. I'm just going to hit remind me later for this new update. So it should install onto this VMware now. So we're going to let this install. If you just want to fast forward through the video, that's fine. While we're waiting here, you're going to need that USB cable for your STM32 link. So, make sure you have that ready. Right over here. Nice fancy sounds. And the install's going good so far. I guess I'd just fast forward this part of the video if you don't want to see this. Pretty much I'm just installing this operating system onto a VMware workstation, fresh, brand new. So what I'm doing here today, you should be able to copy what I do and hack your Nintendo Game & Watch, as long as you follow everything that I've done correctly. Okay, so I restarted the video there just because I was pointless to watch that whole install process, but after the install happened, it brought me to the login screen on my VMware. So, I'm on the login screen, but first let's go to our Windows machine here, and I'm going to show you guys what I was showing you guys earlier, this whole thing here. Just in case you want to pause the video. Oops. Just in case you want to pause the video at this point here to get your connections proper on your STM32 board and on your Game & Watch. So I'll link this in my description again, but this is a very helpful guide that somebody wrote up. I'm not sure who wrote it up, but I'll try to get them credit at the end of the video here. But I'm going to link this also in my video description. It's called Novice Hacking a Game & Watch. So it might help you guys. Well, it definitely will help you guys if you're just beginning to open this thing up and figure out what it's all about. So, back to what we're doing. I'm going to log in to my Linux Ubuntu setup here. And first thing I want to do is, I'm going to go back to my Windows machine here. First thing I want to do is go to this Game & Watch backup GitHub. And what this is going to do for us is back up our Game & Watch's flash memory to our computer, so we have a backup of our original flash memory that we can reflash the machine if anything were to go wrong, or if you just want to have the original firmware back onto your Game & Watch. So this is what we want to start with first. Don't start with anything else. Start with this first, because you want to have a good backup. You always want to have a good backup. So we're going to start with this first, and this is going to get us started and get everything working for when we want to put our NES games on anyway. So we're going to start with this, and it'll make our lives easier. So we have done most of this stuff. This is what we want to look at here, the Ubuntu setup. So we're going to go back into our virtual machine. Okay, sorry about that. So back to our Ubuntu setup, and we're going to go to our address, the Game & Watch backup GitHub. So I'm just going to type it into Google. So that comes up into Google. I'm going to go down to where it says Ubuntu setup. So if you've never used Ubuntu before, it's not that difficult. If you've never used a terminal before, then it's going to be a little bit difficult from here on, but I'm going to show you everything you need to do. So we need to install the required tools. So I'm going to copy this line, and this is a line that is going to, it should install the required tools that we need on our Ubuntu setup to get our Game & Watch's flash properly. So we want to go here, type in terminal. Your terminal will come up when you click terminal. I'm right-clicking and pasting the code that we just got off the GitHub for the backup. And this is the code here that I'm pasting into our terminal. So I paste that into the terminal, I hit enter. It's asking me for my password, which we made as password. And now it's going to install everything that we need. It's asking us a question down here. Do you want to continue? Yes, because it's asking us if we need the disk space and all that, so I'm going to hit yes. Y and enter. And it's going to download all that stuff for us and install what we need. So as this is installing, I'm going to go back to our GitHub here. So if you read this note, it says this version of openOCD included in Ubuntu does not include functionality that is needed by these scripts. So you got to build from this nightly build. So if you click the link here, they actually have a link for it. And you need to build everything. So you need to take this line here, and you need to copy and paste it into the terminal. So we're going to go back to our terminal, and it's still downloading and installing stuff, so we're going to leave it for now. But this is the next step. We got to copy and paste this line, and once that's done and installed, we execute this with this command, and I'll show you guys that later. But we need this command here to execute to use openOCD. Okay? So, we'll go back to our terminal. Just wait for this to finish. It shouldn't be much longer. And again, we're going to copy this code. Just make sure my screen's still recording. Yeah. Copy this code. "30 seconds for this to be done." It's almost done. And make sure you let it finish. Don't interrupt anything. Just let it do its thing. It will finish. Okay, so when that comes back there like that, that means that operation is complete. So we're going to right click, paste, and it's going to automatically do everything we needed to do. Sorry, give me a second, guys. I right-clicked and paste, and then there was still a line left over there, so I just hit Enter. So it finished its command there. I did that last time and it worked for me, so it should work again. I'm assuming that's going to work. So, now that all those packages are finished, we're going to go back to our Firefox browser here. We're going to click back and go to our GitHub backup. Okay, sorry about that. My screen wasn't big enough, so I couldn't see where to download it. So I'm going to hit code and then download, and I'm gonna open this because it's a zip. So it shows me these zipped files here. What I'm gonna do is go to the desktop here, and under user, I'm gonna open user, and I'm gonna extract this to user, and that's Game & Watch Backup Main. Okay. So Game & Watch Backup Main. What we're going to do is right-click, open in terminal. And that's going to give us a terminal of this folder. So, go back into Firefox, scroll down to where we are here, and like I said earlier, this is how we're going to run the openOCD, and then this is how we would run one of the steps. So it's telling us to take this line, which I'm going to take, put it into here. So that's how I start it. And it wants us to do sanity check. So we're going to try sanity check. Right click, paste, hit enter. Okay, so what we want to do here after we installed the openOCD is we run this command here to export it to where we need to have it. So if we go to our terminal again, go into user and just right click Game & Watch and click open in terminal, and then we're going to paste that line that we just had, and that's going to set the environment up properly for us. And then we'll try a sanity check. So highlight that, copy, and paste, hit enter. Running sanity checks, looks good. So far that's good. Everything we're doing so far looks to be good. So if we go into this folder, we can see we have sanity check, backup flash, backup internal flash, unlock device, and restore. So these are the ones we're going to be working with today. So when I go into Firefox again and we go down to usage on the GitHub page here, it's telling us that we're going to need to power the device with a USB-C cable. So that's what I'm going to do here. If you look in the video here where the Game & Watch is, I'm going to power it up. And we're going to go back to our terminal, but first I'm going to copy this, because that's the second one we have to run, is the backup flash. So I'm going to copy that, and that's going to back up our flash from our Game & Watch. So actually what I'm going to do here is hit arrow up, and it's going to show me that sanity check again. But I'm going to backspace just to there, hit paste. So that's this similar as what we put into the first line. In the second line, we're just doing this number 2 step. Now we're going to hit enter. And it's asking us if we want to use JLink, STlink, or RPI. We're using STlink. So I'm going to type that in again, space, and type in STlink. Enter. Now it's saying make sure your Game & Watch is turned on and in the time screen. Press return when ready. Okay. So I'm going to look at my Game & Watch here. It's plugged in. You know what I noticed? It won't turn on. I'm going to plug in my ST32 board. But I noticed the Game & Watch won't turn on when it's plugged into the STM32 board for some reason. And I don't know why. But maybe somebody can answer that. But I'm going to unplug it right now, just for a second. Notice it's not turning on at all for me, but we'll see if we can get it to turn on. Yeah, okay, so it's turned on now. I'm going to plug my cable back in. It's still turned on, so we're just going to leave it like that so you guys can see it. So if you look at my desktop again now, it says press return when ready. And it's on the time screen, so I'm going to press return. It says it will roughly take 30 seconds. Your Game & Watch screen will blink in between. Looks like it's blinking in between, so you got something right. So don't be worried, but it's just going to take a bit. Not too long. It says validating, extracting. Looks good, successfully backed up. So it's going to back that up into, if you go into your folders here, yeah, backups, there it is. So it should back that up into the backups, but we're not done yet. We're still running scripts. So go back to Firefox. We're going to do the third one now. Okay? So that backs up the internal flash. So we're going to do // and paste. That's our third command. We're going to hit enter. Oh yeah, STlink, right? Remember? So space STlink, enter. This step will overwrite the contents of the SPI flash chip that we backed up in step 2. Do you want to continue? Yes. Why? Enter. Running flash loader. So give this stuff time. If it errors out, it'll give you an error, and you'll have to figure it out from there. But from what we're doing today, it shouldn't give us any errors if we have everything hooked up correctly. So it says it's telling us to do something now. So this is going to flash, and then if you look at my computer screen, it's going to say flash successfully flashed. Now do the following procedure. Disconnect the power from the device, power it again by plugging it in, press and hold the power button. So as you press and hold the power button, press return while still holding the button. So you got to make sure that I'm going to flip it around here. It wants me to disconnect it, plug it in. It wants me to hold the power button. So I'm going to have to hold the power button. I'm holding the power button, I'm hitting enter. I'm still holding the power button. And it says device backed up successfully, so I can let go of the power button now. You want to hold that power button the whole time you're doing that. It doesn't take long. Okay, so it's successfully backed up. That was step 3. Now we're going to do unlock the device, step 4. So // and back to Firefox just so I can copy and paste it. So we're going to go to the 4th step, which is unlocking our device. So we're going to hit enter, STlink. Sorry, I always forget the STlink. Enter. Things can go wrong. Do you want to continue? Yes, we do. Unlocking the device takes up to 30 seconds. So we'll wait. Congratulations, your device has been unlocked. Please power cycle it for changes to take full effect. Okay. So unplug it. Plug it back in. Still have step 5 to do. It's unlocked, but we want to restore it now. So step 5. // I'm going to restore the original firmware. I could put custom firmware on now, like NES and stuff like that, but I'm just going to restore it just so I can show you guys. So STlink. So restore space STlink. And I'll say restoring the internal flash, restoring the SPI flash. And again, don't be scared, it will either error out or it will take a while. Success, your device should be running the original firmware again. Just got to repower it. It's going to be blinking right now. I'm just going to repower it. I'm going to unplug it from the board because it doesn't like to be plugged into the board for some reason when I repower it. Just trying to plug in the battery so I can show you guys. Plugged in the battery. And there's the original firmware again. Okay? So, just going to carefully pop the battery out. Plug it back into my STM32 board. Right? Make sure nothing's touching. So that's how you back up and restore your device. Now, I'm going to show you guys how to put an NES ROM on. And then once you do that, you should be able to figure out on your own how to go from there, putting Homebrew on. So, let's see here. We're going to go to a different GitHub. I just got to figure out where it is. And that's going to be a GitHub for Retrogo. I'm going to type it in. Game and watch. So that's the first one that comes up when you type in Retrogo Game and Watch on GitHub. So this one, we're going to scroll down and we're going to git clone these because that's what it's telling us to do, and that's the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to right click, copy, so git clone, and it's going to clone this flasher. Pretty much just going to do everything in order what it tells us to do here. So we're going to exit out of the backup. Oh, and by the way, your backups are all in here. Make sure you save them, double save them, email them to yourself, whatever. But this is your backup for your original flash. If you lose that, you won't be able to go back to original firmware. So what we want to do is open a terminal in user. So open terminal. We're going to paste the code that we got, the git clone, and that's going to clone flash loader. Okay. So we have to install git. So sudo apt install git. It just told us what to do. So sudo apt install git. Let me type in our password, which is password. Do we want to continue? Yes. So it'll install git so I can do this properly. I can do it a different way, but this is the way I want to do it right now. Let that install, and then we'll go from there through the script. It's not much longer. Okay, so that's done. So I'm going to paste what I had earlier that didn't let me paste. It should work now. So it gets that and downloads it. So we're going to go back to Firefox. It wants us to go into that folder. So CD Game and Watch Flash Loader. So I'm going to go back to my terminal, right click, paste. It's going to go into that folder. It says make J8, but I'm just going to type make. I'm honestly not sure what the J8's for. Maybe somebody can tell me, but I don't know right now. So I'm just going to type in make. Of course not. Okay. So we're going to do sudo install make. That should work, right? So let that install. And we're going to type make again. And that's going to get all the files that we need so we can flash our custom firmware on, so we can have NES games, Game Boy games, and stuff like that, and whatever else there is in the future. So let that finish. Once that's finished, we're going to go back to our instructions, so back to Firefox. We're going to type cd space ... which is going to go back to our other directory. And we're going to git clone this, which is Game & Watch Retrogo, which is used to put ROMs on, NES ROM. Okay, so we've cloned that, and now we're going to go into the folder. So copy that, CD, and then Game Retrogo, paste it into our terminal, hit enter, and now we're into that folder. So now we're ready to put, I'm going to put an NES game on. You can put anything that is supported on, but right now I'm just going to put an NES game on because there's an NES emulator supported. So what I have here is this Kung Fu game. I'm going to go into the folder, so user, and then I'm going to go into my Retrogo folder. And in this folder you're going to see ROMs, Game Boy, Game Gear I think, NES, I don't know what that is, SMS. We're going to go into NES. And I'm going to put in this Kung Fu game. So that's the ROM I have here for my NES game, and it's in the NES folder. So we can exit out of this, exit out of that, go to our terminal, and we're going to go back to our instructions. Like I just said, it's going to tell you where to put the ROMs that you want. And keep in mind, there's not much flash memory on this. Don't quote me on this. I think it's only a 128 you can fit on there, maybe more, a little bit more. But I know you can put 16 megabyte external flash if you want to extend that and put more games on. So what we're going to do is type in make flash. Like I said earlier, I don't know what the J8 is for, but we're going to just try it with just make flash. I know it's another setting, but I don't know what it's for yet. So make flash, and again what this is going to do is put that NES game that I put into my NES ROMs folder. It's going to load everything up that it needs, and it's going to flash that onto your Game & Watch. So back to the Game & Watch here. It's plugged in. Make sure we have power to it. It's plugged into my STM32 Nucleo board properly. And let's try this. So make flash, enter. So it's going to go through all the files. It doesn't do this every time, it only does it once. But it's going to load up all these files that it needs to load up into its folder. And we shouldn't have any issues. If we have any issues, it'll tell us the error on the screen here. I'm assuming we should be fine, and it should load on that ROM as it should. So we're just going to wait for it to finish what it's doing. I'm going to flip over carefully here the Game & Watch. So when it does start to do things, you'll see what it's doing. Usually just flashes the screen a little bit. Oh yeah, keep in mind while this is doing this, I should have mentioned it earlier, but you're going to make sure your STM32 link is connected through USB on your... oh, we have no space left on our device here, like on our actual VMware, so I'm going to have to make space, obviously. But back to what I was saying, you're going to want your STM32 link needs to be connected through the USB on your virtual machine, because it will try to connect to your computer first, so it needs to be up here. You need to tell it to connect to your VMware. We don't have much space on this VMware, so that's why it said no space left on the device, and not on our NES, or sorry, not on our Game & Watch, but on our actual machine here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video for now. It will work. What I just typed in to make flash, it will work, but I'm just going to go into my other Ubuntu setup where I have enough space, and we're going to go from there. But like I said, it's exactly the same. It'll be exactly the same. There's not going to be any differences. So let me just pause this for a second. Okay, so I'm in the other virtual machine, and it's going to be exactly the same as what we had before. Just I ran out of memory on the other one that I was showing you guys on, because I don't have that much memory on my computer, but this is exactly the same from where we left off. So I'm going to open the terminal, And since I'm reopening this terminal, you have to tell it where openOCD is, so we gotta put this line in every time we do the terminal, I'm pretty sure. So type that in and it will set that. So what we want to do is type in make flash, and if we look here, our machine's plugged on and everything's like it is when we did our backup. We're going to hit enter and make flash. It's saying flash chunk failed, power cycle the unit and retry. So I'm going to try to unplug it, plug it back in, and hold the power button while I click Y here. And it's still saying it's failed. Try it again. Okay, there it goes. So sometimes you gotta push the power button a few times just to get that first part to go. It looks like we did have an error here. I think there might be something wrong with my connections. But that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get these errors if you don't, if something's wrong. So sometimes I just redo it, and it should load. But then again, there might be another issue, so I'm just leaving this all in the video so we can figure it out. It's saying unable to reset. So there's something going on with it that doesn't want to reset. But we're going to try again because I know it will work. Something's just going on here. Again, my connections might not be the best. This wire I'm using is not a very good wire. I'm going to try it again. Okay, so I'm glad that happened actually, because it gave me an example of something that can go wrong. It went good this time, but those previous times I did it, something was going wrong. So if you look here, it says programming finished, verified started, verified OK, and resetting target. So that means everything went perfect. So everything's fine. If we were to reset this thing now, I should be able to unplug it. Unplug my debug ports. And if we plug in the battery, bear with me here. Let's get the battery plugged in. Okay, it took longer than it should have. But if you can see here, we are now in our custom firmware, and this will load up my NES game. Okay, so that's it. That's how you load ROMs to your Nintendo Game & Watch. Thank you for watching my video. I'd like to thank everyone that's involved in hacking the Nintendo Game & Watch. There's probably too many people to list, so I'm not going to list everybody, but I will link all the Discords and all the things that I use to get my setup working, so maybe you guys can get your setup working. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching my video. Have a good one.